So hello and welcome to the 28th episode of the Spotlight Podcast, the unofficial podcast for Century 21 sales representatives in Canada, where we discuss the hot topics and important news in the real estate industry. So I'm your host, Linas Kilius, and with me as always is Eryn Richardson.
Hello.
Hey, Eryn. So Eryn is a broker and general manager with Century 21 Heritage Group. Eryn has an extensive background in online marketing, technology, and customer service. And I'm the head of business development at the real estate marketing company, Homeania. So it's almost the end of the year. Snow is blanketing a solid chunk of Canada. Everyone is rushing about to get ready for the holidays. So naturally, during this time of the year, the real estate market starts to slow down. With this drop in business, agents often find that it's the perfect time to organize their business by planning for the new year. Develop a business strategy that will help them increase their earnings in the new year. Maybe this is also a good time to reflect over the previous year and evaluate your business decisions. What did I do right? What did I do wrong? What would I have done differently? So on today's show, we're going to be talking about just this, developing your business plan for the upcoming year and good strategies for deciding where to spend your time, effort, and money to best help grow your business. Before we get into that, we only got a few more days left till Christmas, Eryn. Have you got all your Christmas shopping done?
Nope, I still got a bunch to do, so we got 2 days left. It's going to be a tight one.
Yeah, I'm fearing going to the mall. Most of my kids have actually been sick the past few days, so it's kind of derailed what we thought was good progress. It always seems to be something derailing the kind of like progress you can make towards getting all the presents done. And like, you know, we've got a bunch of guests coming over for Christmas Eve and Christmas and such, getting the house ready and all that. But yeah, it's going to be a bit of a race to the finish line, I think. So.
Yeah, I was hoping to take advantage of some of the people that suggested I buy stuff online, but I don't want to order something and not have it come in time, which is always so I'm past that. I'm done. Like I can't do that right at this point. So
I really hope my wife isn't watching the show because I'm about to spoil one of her presents, but I'm pretty sure she isn't. So yeah, I ordered something like a month and a half ago from the States. It was just like a little like keychain with like our family picture in it, right? And I was stressing out because it shipped, I think, at the end of November. I'm just waiting for it to come in. But of course, you know, something shipping from the States might get held by customs and whatnot. It just came in yesterday. So that was a little sigh of relief there. But yeah, I guess we're at the point now where you can't really order stuff online unless you get like next day shipping now, right? So
that's right.
I think it's time to get my boots and winter coat on and make the trek over to the mall and get the final gifts over there now. So, but those lineups and everything are pretty hectic, and it's a mad rush at the mall, that's for sure. So
just go early in the morning or sometimes later at night, but early in the morning is pretty good usually. Yeah.
Well, even getting kids to see Santa is like a million times worse this time of year too. Just like, you just can't do that. Okay, anyways, this isn't a podcast about talking about our Christmas shopping plans. So let's maybe get right into what we're going to talk about. So business plans. So if someone is evaluating what they've done in the previous year and looking forward to the new year, like where should you start in this process, Eryn?
Just really two case studies, I guess. One being a new agent, right, that doesn't have any business last year, and we have plenty of those that come to us or come to me and look for a business plan. And then there's the ones that obviously have done a lot of business last year, and they're just looking to make sure that they either stay on track or they want to increase their business or looking for more time. So there's those two different scenarios.
Yeah.
So I guess, yeah, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, go ahead. I was just gonna lead you into the next part, but it looks like you're doing that on your own. So.
Yeah, no, I was just, you know, what you need, it's the same thing, you know, essentially what you have to do is establish the goal for next year. What is your goal? Do you want to save time? Do you want to make more money? Or do you want to make money, you know, which is a lot of cases. So what you need to do is if you're in a situation where you have made some money last year, you want to identify the areas that you worked in order to find out where your business came from. So print off a list of all your clients, beside the clients' names, you know, mark where they came from. How did you get that business? And take that, decide where your goal is for next year in terms of dollar figure. And then, and I've got I guess when we're talking about it, I've got a business plan summary that I use with agents, and I actually write it down for them, right? I say, what did you make last year? What was your income? What was your expenses? And what would you project to do? So let's start with just goals first. And then after you get goals established, we go through the actions and what you're going to do to accomplish your goals. You're going to talk about how you're going to manage your time and time block your time in order to do the actions. And then we're going to talk about accountability. How do you keep yourself on track? And if you're keeping yourself on track and you're establishing your goals and you're doing the actions, the business will come. And then we always talk about tax planning near the end to make sure that you don't get caught up, not just with expenses, but the tax man in the end as well.
Do you find in general that after an agent comes up with a business plan, say with you or on their own, that they have problems sticking to it? Because I know like this is the time for New Year's resolutions, right? And I think like, one common one is like, I'm going to start going to the gym, right? And that's what a lot of people will say. But then I think gyms would be probably the first people to tell you this after, you get a big surge in January, but then everyone stops going in February. Like it's just like a thing where you start sticking to your new resolution, but then it kind of drops off. Is this a standard problem that we have as well with business planning too, or is this just like how do you keep yourself motivated?
Hey, listen, that's the key to real estate right there is accountability. If you complete the actions, you will see results. There's no doubt about that. I have never seen anybody in one of my offices that worked tirelessly at prospecting and did everything we told them they should do. And, they're sending out the right marketing pieces and they're talking to the right people that don't have success. I mean, success is going to come from hard work at planning and following through and accountability and holding yourself accountable. But the accountability factor is the key to everything.
Yeah, I imagine that must be pretty tough too, because in real estate, you're really only accountable to yourself in many cases too. It's not like you've necessarily, I guess you do have a management team and peers that might be like looking over your shoulder a little bit, but at the end of the day, you're your own boss, right? So it becomes tough to give yourself that little kick in the butt if you need it. So I don't know, is this just something that you just have to make that resolution to stick to it? Or is there anything else you can really do to try and get that? You've probably come across agents before that problem sticking to plans. Do you have any sort of strategies for getting them to stick with that plan?
When it comes to the accountability factor, which is about fourth down the list, we get to accountability. But it is, like I said, it's the most important step. When I talk about accountability, it's hard to hold yourself accountable. And sometimes you can do it through proper planning. So you put it in your phone and you booked yourself from 2 to 4 on Thursdays to door knock or make some calls or follow up on some your sphere of influence or something like that. So you time block all these actions into your phone. The problem is you look at your phone and say, yeah, I know I should be doing that, but I'm not going to do it. So preparation is only half of it. You got to put it in there. The other half is if you can't hold yourself accountable, is to get somebody to do it for you. That could be your wife, one of your kids, it could be your manager, it could be a coworker. Just choose somebody that is going to ask you daily and weekly and monthly questions about your business and say, why aren't you doing this? If you come home to your kids every night and they say, hey, Dad, did you get those 2 prospects today? And you say, no, I didn't. You're going to feel bad about it. So having them hold you accountable works.
Yeah, unless your kids are a 3 and a 5-year-old like mine, that might be a little bit more difficult. But hey, you never know. I guess maybe it worked there too, right? So, by the way, just for anyone listening or watching the show too, we're going to make Eryn's little business plan report that he's got there that he showed a second ago available for download on the website's the episode's website at spotlight@century21.ca/podcast. So there'll be a little download link there.
It's a business plan that I started. I didn't take this from anybody in particular. I built it myself based on some of the other things that are out there. So, listen, it's not perfect. I'm sure there are things that you could manipulate and put on there if you feel that certain things are more important. But it really does go through the 3 aspects of your business and where business comes from. So just to give you a rundown, I guess, on that, at the top of the business plan, it'll have the goals that you have for the next year. And then I get right into your sphere of influence, so the people that that's where a lot of business comes from. I find business going to come from 3 main sections, and that's your sphere of influence, the people that know you and the networking that you do. The next section is your paid advertising. Obviously, you could buy your business. The amount you spend, sometimes, you could, if you had $100,000, come see me. I'll show you where to spend it to get the leads, to get the business. But that's one section, and then prospecting, how you're going to create more leads and how you're going to get out there, and that has a lot to do with I say door knocking and cold calling. I mean, there's specific actions you can do that aren't just that basic as door knocking and cold calling, but really it comes down to creating more business through prospecting. So there's actions on this sheet that that you're going to accomplish and time block in. I had somebody come in yesterday to do a business plan, and we got just through sphere of influence. And we went through all the actions that I have on the sphere of influence. And he had so many things that he could do with his 260 people that he knew from his wedding list, of all things. He thought, he's got all these addresses from his wedding list. That's great, 260. 260, I figure you can make about $370,000 next year from 260 people if you did everything properly. So we went through it all. And I said, I don't want you to spend any more time with spending money on advertising or anything until your sphere of influence is looked after. Let's make sure that there's a newsletter sent out. Make sure that you're calling them weekly. Make sure that you're, I've got some stuff on here, buying note cards, sending note cards out and thanking people, doing pop buys as Brian Buffini would do, and all this sort of actions that you're going to do with your sphere of influence. But if he focused on that next year, he's easily going to double his business.
Right, well, maybe this is a good segue to talk a little about that, because we were talking a little bit off camera about different agents for different situations, right? Like this agent that you're talking about, he's got potentially a very large sphere of influence, and it looks like his efforts might be better suited for putting the time into cultivating those, not necessarily a large financial investment. Whereas other agents might be in a situation where they don't have a large sphere of influence. Maybe they're a struggling agent looking for business, like really trying to figure out if they need to, if real estate is like the vocation for them or not. Other agents might be doing extremely well and just have no time at all to do anything because they've got so much business coming in, but they want to try and expand their business. So I guess when you look at what your business situation was like from the previous year, and like where do you go from there? Do you maybe like evaluate where your shortcomings were, like what kind of resources you have to spend in a year? Like maybe you've got a lot of time because you don't have a lot of business coming in. Maybe you got a lot of money because you've got a lot of business coming in, but not enough time because that's what's holding you back. Like how do you go forward from there and evaluate those situations, I guess?
The first thing you need to do a self-evaluation. And when I sit down with somebody, I help them with that. I ask them a lot of questions about their life. What it is they enjoy doing, we'll take advantage of anything that they've done in the past that's been successful. We'll focus on areas that they know they're good at. Some people are better on the phone. Some people are better networking amongst the community. Other people are great. They have no problem knocking on some doors. So really we want to tailor a business plan based around the strengths of an individual. So not every business plan is going to be similar. And I think it's really important. One of the things, I really want to stress too is there is somebody else. I know that everybody listening to this should have somebody else in their office, somebody else that is in their life that can help them with their business plan. Get help. Sit down with the manager of your office, the owner of your company, a manager of one of the other offices, in your company or whatever it may be, but sit down with them and have a good conversation of where you could focus on next year and where you can increase. You had mentioned something, Linus, that kind of reminded me of somebody that came into the office once, and they were spending a lot of money on one publication. I said, hey, listen, I spent $2,000-$3,000 on this publication last year, and I don't want to spend that money there anymore. I want to shift it somewhere else. And the more we looked at what she did the year previous. And it turns out that she had sold 2 houses from the publication, and both, it was actually $40,000 worth of income she made from it, and she only spent, I think it was like $2,500. So, you look at that and you see the return on the investment, and we thought, well, by the end of it, we actually convinced her to spend $5,000 on the publication, so she could make $80,000 next year, because it was something that did produce results the year previous, and she came in thinking, I didn't want to spend the money on that anymore. So that's just a good example of how to delve into what somebody's done in the past and either take advantage of it or move on if it's not working.
So is that a simple way to review the past year? Like look at where you spent the money, maybe where you spent the time, I guess where you spent your resources is probably the best way to put it, and look at the returns from all of those avenues. I guess it might be tough in real estate to identify where the money comes in from. Like sometimes it's obvious if it comes from, like maybe a newspaper publication, they call you from that, they say they saw your ad in the paper or whatever, then where that came from. But is that like generally the best way to review the previous year? Look for like, money in, money out, where it came from, time in, time out, where it came from, like that kind of thing?
I think it's important to know where it's coming from for sure. I don't know any business that is going to sit down and not, in part of their business plan isn't going to establish where their money's coming from. If they know, 80% of their money comes from their sphere of influence, and I look at what they did to get that from their sphere of influence, and they didn't do anything, I'm going, okay, there's lots of money being left on the table here. If you're making 80% of your business from your sphere of influence and you're only spending, 2 hours a week and $1,000 of budget, let's see if we can triple that income by spending a little more time and effort and maybe resources in terms of money in that one area, because that seems to be an area you're getting a lot of your business from.
Okay, so let's look forward to the next year. So let's say you've got time as your main resource because you don't have maybe a lot of business coming in. Where is the best place to spend your time typically? Or if someone came into you in that kind of situation, where would you tell them to start looking at spending their time?
Well, I think you'd have to look at individual situations for that. Time is money, and time is the number. Like, listen, everybody, like I said, bring me $100,000 and I'll tell you where to spend the money, and you don't have to spend the time. But a lot of people don't have budgets of $100,000 or more, anywhere near. So you're going to spend more time than it is money on your business to get prospects. So really, it's going to depend on the individual circumstance to identify where it is that you really want to spend that time. But I will tell you, the majority of the time will be spent talking to people. So however we get it to happen, you have to make more friends. People will use people because either they're the popular person in the area, which means it's farming, which means it's money, or they're going to use them because they're like, I like this guy. I think he knows what he's talking about. He seems honest and all the rest of it. But they don't know that until, spend some time with you. So you've got to get out there and do some actions in order to meet some people.
Yeah, I guess you talked about before, it's really more playing to your strength as a person, as a salesperson too, right? Like maybe phone calling or door knocking isn't like the way that you shine, but maybe it's different things like getting involved in community events and more just kind of getting your face out there and such. So I guess, yeah, like you said, that's more of an agent-specific solution to that kind of time problem, right? So on the flip side, you said that if I had $100,000, you're telling me where to spend it in an instant. So let's say maybe I didn't have $100,000, but if I had an amount of money to put towards my business development for the next year, put away, where are good places to spend that year?
Well, let's look at, and again, it's going to revolve around a personality or person. I mean, online right now is very popular, so I could easily, spend quite a bit for somebody to generate leads on pay-per-click advertising and stuff like that. But let's go with a really proven track record of success, and that's farming. If you are popular in an area, people will call you. If you look at an area of 1,000 homes, and I know that in that area, 40% of the people that are going to be selling next year, they have an agent that they've either used in the past or been referred to. But there's still a percentage of people in every area that are saying, I don't know who I'm going to use. And they say, listen, I'm going to probably call the top 3 agents in my area. If you can prove to them that you are the person that's one of the top 3 agents in their area, you're going to get a phone call. So that's essentially what you're doing with a farm area. And what you do with farm areas is you start small to start. You said budget, if you have a small budget for $5,000, you can have an area of 1,000 homes, and you'll be sending out flyers, and you'll be doing events within the community, and you'll be knocking on some doors, and eventually you'll get a little bench in the area and stuff like that, like bench advertising. But that's a little further down. In the first year, really just center on people seeing your name as much as possible and showing some success along with your name and that you know what you're doing. So if you farm an area consistently enough and often enough, you will see results eventually. It's a slow process sometimes, depending on how much money you spend at the beginning. But as soon as you see the results in that area, you're going to see $5,000 as an expense and $50,000 as a return. So as soon as you know you have an expense and a return on your investment, so 5,000 gets you 50, all you have to do next year is double that. Spend 10, do 2,000 homes, you'll make 100,000. Then double that, 200,000, then double that, 400,000, 800,000, a million, 3 million. Like, you just keep going and going. And that's what the big mega agents, the top producers, that's what they do. They're farming agents. They spend the money. They know how business works. They just scale up.
I've seen a couple of situations where someone might be getting into either spending money online or in like a farming situation too, which is especially the farming situation too. Like you said, it could take time for you to see the returns on that. And a lot of cases you can maybe make the case that people give up on it too early. Is this the kind of thing where like you need to, if you are putting money towards like a big farm area, like you just need to stick with it for a while? Like, how do you evaluate when it isn't working? And like, is there a good way to do that? Because I mean, in some cases, maybe you're farming wrong too, right?
I got to tell you right now, 90% of people that farm get out of it. And they get out of it at the exact wrong time. They do it for a year. They say, I didn't get anything last year. I'm going to, the reevaluation. So they sat down, they did the business plan next year. I said, I spent $5,000. I didn't get a listing in my area. I can't spend another $5,000 and throw that out the window. No. That's the biggest mistake you can make. That $5,000 is going to get thrown out the window that you spent last year unless you continue doing it. So when you make a commitment to farm, it's a 5-year commitment. Like, it's not a 1-year commitment. You have to say, in the next 5 years, I'm going to spend $5,000 every single year. It's a $25,000 commitment over 5 years. And of course, if you have success, you're going to double it every year and all the rest. But I don't know anybody who's spent $5,000 a year for 5 years that didn't get their money back or explode, like in terms of success. However, it's not all about spending money. You have to complete some actions along with it. But yeah.
Yeah, just making sure, because I know that enough people, like we mentioned about New Year's resolutions too, people do have the intentions of doing something, but especially once, if money starts becoming a bit of a crunch, let's say you're like a new agent too, like after the first year, you might be a little bit more stressed out if you don't have the cash flow to be able to support this. Like, do I keep putting money into these kind of situations, right? Or do I stick with it, right? And those can be very difficult decisions. So like you said, a lot of people can back out of those and maybe not stick the course, but that is the best way to do it, and just kind of suck it up and go keep going forward, and hopefully it'll pan out within the years to come. And like you said, you haven't come across a situation where someone might spend that much money and not get the returns from it in the end.
I just, if somebody gets into the industry, farming is not the first thing I ever tell anybody to do, because they'll be in a same situation you're talking about, Linus. What you need to do is you need to really center on the things that maybe don't spend as much money, like your sphere of influence. Get some sales underneath your belt. Something I did early in my career was I told my company, who was able to hold money back every paycheck for my taxes, as well for advertising. So I put it into an advertising account. I made sure that next year's advertising is paid for. So I did a full year of sales. Let's say I think at that point in time it was 150,000. So next year I put 10% gross. So I had 15,000 to be put towards advertising the next year, and I ended up raising that to about 15% later on. But I knew next year that was paid for. That 15,000 is sitting there, pays for my advertising, and that's the healthiest way to do it, is to have the money first.
Yeah, not the easiest way to get to that situation though, which is, I guess, the problem that a lot of agents wouldn't have that luxury too. So obviously, like, once you are more successful, like it takes money to make money, I guess, is like, that old analogy, right? So it gets a little bit easier along the way once you are a little bit more successful. So maybe let's talk about this case too. What if you are extremely successful? Like the best man for my wedding is kind of this point right now too. He's a real estate agent. He's doing very good business, but he just has no time for anything anymore. In his case, if he's looking to maybe try and free up more of his time because his business is okay, he's talking about maybe hiring assistants, that kind of thing, forming teams. Like, in those situations where you are a top producer, saying you want to try and alleviate some of the time burden on yourself, what kind of things should you be looking at in your business plan? Because it's a little bit different than maybe necessarily even growing your business, but you're trying to restructure everything, right?
Yeah, well, you look at all the actions that you're completing in order to get the business and find out if they're systemized first. You have to have a system for everything. And that system, you shouldn't be paying yourself $400 an hour to do 12 $12 an hour job. So if you do have somebody that you can pay, obviously as an assistant, to do the things like your paperwork and your flyers and your advertising and your thank yous and your all the rest of it that does take a lot of your time up. That's an assistant's a great way to obviously save some time there. And sometimes you don't have to necessarily pay for an assistant right away. If you've got a buyer's agent that's hungry for business and you've got enough leads that you can, or enough business that you can help them with, they have no problem helping you with some of the clerical stuff too. So, it depends on where they are in their business. But if you get a good assistant, whether it be licensed or non-licensed, that can definitely take some stuff off your plate.
Yeah. Is there anything else like in terms of like organization and like just organizing yourself, maybe structuring yourself a little bit more? Maybe not necessarily this case we're talking about, just in general, because like we're talking about expanding your business, and a lot of that can be organization as well too. Right?
Mm-hmm. Like, for sure. I mean, you got to look at everything from your paperwork, your desk, your environment, but also from how you're going to utilize technology to help you. It's things like DocuSign, and there's time management programs out there. There's CRM systems out there that do a lot of stuff for you. Just utilizing simple things like a calendar, on your phone. I utilize my calendar for time blocking quite a bit, and there's reoccurring events that you can utilize. Every Tuesday at a certain time, it's going to remind you to do things. So these are all things that you want to, and all tools of the arsenal that you have. And as you go through your business plan, and as the one I have there, I always have action plans below. So when we talk about something and say, yeah, I got to really do that, I put it down there as an action plan and when you're going to have it done. And then come back and see me and we'll go through and make sure these are all done and hold them accountable. One of the things I didn't mention when we were talking about who's going to hold you accountable was a coach. And coaching in real estate is, I would say, at least half, if not more than half, of the top 100 on the Toronto Real Estate Board, let's say, are coached. They have a coach, they pay them. Coaching usually around $800 a month. Some are $700, some are $500, some are $1,000, some are more than $1,000. But those top agents hire coaches to hold them accountable and work them through situations to get more productive. So you don't have to spend the money on a coach. Obviously, the coaches you spend money on, they're very effective. You can get some good information from your management team, other agents, but or just like I said, sit down with if it's your wife or your husband or something, to sit down with and have them go through some of the stuff and just hash it out. But have somebody hold you accountable.
Yeah, you kind of took my next question away from me there. I was going to ask you if you had any sort of resources that people could look towards, like other, because we've talked about management, not just for holding you accountable, but for like helping you put together a proper business plan. I guess coaches is another one. Then is there anything else at all like to help you kind of craft this plan together? Maybe you're from an office where you don't have these resources necessarily, right? I guess maybe your peers too might be able to help out, but is there anything else that you can think of that might be a good resource for putting together or crafting a business plan?
There is a lot of resources in real estate. There's not just coaches, but there's trainers, and there's, because not only do you want to hone in on, time management skills and accountability, but sometimes you want to hone in on, what do I say when somebody calls off an ad, and and how do I handle what sort of script should I use, and all this sort of stuff. So there's a ton of trainers, and it's as little as $30 a month. There's the Chris Leaders and the Brian Buffinis and the all the different programs. Tom Ferry, Mike Ferry, Rob Vivian. What's the other guy there? There's lots of them out there, and those people all have programs. They all have websites. They all have videos. They have, so it's not a bad idea to have as part of your business plan time set aside every week for personal development, and those tools are there to help you continue to, hone in on your skills and to better your business. So those are good tools to use.
Cool. So.
One of the things I just, and I was thinking about it actually a couple when we were talking about before, time management wise. I've brought this up before, and I know Spotlight doesn't necessarily have any commercials or anything like that during these podcasts. So sometimes I really want to take the time to mention this is a good example of a system, and there are other systems out there, but I've utilized the Spotlight system for about 10 years. And when you don't have an assistant, okay, when you can't pay somebody to do things, there are technologies or systems out there. Spotlight, in terms of what it's done for my business, anytime I get a listing, it's, whether it be the photography or ordering the signs or getting a web writer or 1-800 line or a website or all the different things that they do, get it out to all the different websites, it's done for me. And it's only done for me for a couple $100, which is not what I'm going to spend on an assistant. Assistants are expensive. So you don't have to get to the assistant point if you want to still have a lot of stuff done for you that you're going to spend a lot of time with and just spend a small amount of money. So that's allowed me to do it. So a little plug for you there, Linus, but it's been a great program for my business in the past. So.
And what a great note to end the show on, too. So, yes, we'll probably wrap it up there. I think we've got a pretty comprehensive place for people to get started, at least thinking about places to go to develop their business plan and review the prior year or two and see how they can improve their business development in the future. So just a little reminder, too, we're going to be making that document that Eryn's got there about forming your business plan for the following year available for download on our website for this episode. But, yeah, if you like the show, please feel free to subscribe to our show on Stitcher, iTunes, Google Play, or wherever you find your podcasts online. And please don't forget to leave us a 5-star review on those sites, because it really does help. So you can watch this and past shows at spotlight.century21.ca/podcast. If you need to reach us, you can email us anytime at podcast@homeania.com. That's podcast at HOM as in Mary, EAN as in Nancy, IA.com. So this podcast was brought to you by the Spotlight Marketing Program that Eryn mentioned just recently. It's an exclusive marketing package available only to Century 21 agents in Canada. Spotlight provides agents with a comprehensive internet marketing strategy for their listings, provide high-quality HDR photography, stunning HD video tours, a cutting-edge responsive website, and an extensive advertising system that will help sell your listings faster, sell them for more money, impress your clients, and generate leads. So find out why so many top agents are using Spotlight by visiting spotlight.century21.ca today. So everyone have a happy holidays, and we'll see you next week.